Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to look at the last deck I built 10 years ago, roughly. So this deck was a deck that I made specifically based out of cards that I had acquired recently in that time period, and it fit with all the other kind of tribal themes that I had been playing with, in the sense that this is what I called the living lifeless. There are no creatures, yet there are creatures, because everything in this deck is an artifact. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about. We have an Arcbound Worker, which is a 0/0, costs 1, but he receives a +1/+1 counter on him for existing. When he dies, I can take those counters and put them on another artifact. The Brass Herald. The Brass Herald costs 6 for a 2/2, which seems incredibly expensive. But when you play him, first you get to declare a type, so I would declare artifacts. Then I get to look at the top 4 cards. If those 4 cards are artifact creatures, they go into my hand. The cards that aren't creatures go into the bottom of my deck. Also, all creatures of the creature type I declared receive a +1/+1 on them. That includes my Brass Herald. Then we have the Arcbound Crusher. The Arcbound Crusher costs 4, and he's essentially, because he comes in with his counter, he's a 1/1 when you get him. But he's a 1/1 with trample. Also, anytime another artifact comes onto the board, he gains another +1/+1 counter. So he can ramp up in power really, really quickly. The Drakeskull Chimera. Drakeskull, plus word. Costs 3, and I can tap it for a mana. Basically, it's just a mana rock. Drakesteel Citadel. Cool part about this is the land itself is an artifact, meaning it powers up my Arcbound Crusher. And it's indestructible, which is pretty cool. Well of Destiny. At the end of your turn, if you don't have any untapped lands, you get to draw an extra card. And nowadays, thanks to the fact that there's no such thing as mana burn, you can go nuts with this. Next we have an Arcbound Bruiser. It's a 5 for a 3/3 essentially, but again, when it dies, you get to take all of its counters and put them on another artifact. So you could lose a whole bunch of these guys, but you're beefing up one of your other artifacts. We have the Sky Shadow Blood Egg, or the Shadow Blood Egg. Sky Shadow Egg's another card in here. And it costs 1, then you pay 2 and sacrifice it to get 2 mana, and you get to draw a card. And hopefully you have a Crusher on there, so you're powering him up just for playing it. Then we have an Arcbound Lancer. It costs 7, and it's a 4/4, but it's a 4/4 with first strike. And again, it has the modular capability, so that when it goes into the graveyard, we can take its counters and move it on to another artifact. The Arcbound Stinger. It's a 1/1 with flying, but again, it only costs 2, and with that modular capability, a lot can be done. The Vedaliken Ori, if I pronounced that right. If not, sorry. Basically, this lets me play all the cards in my deck as if they were an instant. Love having this artifact on the field, and it only costs 4. Flowstone, always good, just another mana rock. Tap 2, costs 2, then every time you tap it, you can make mana. Basically, this one, I believe, makes mana based off of the type of land my opponent has. But for this deck, since everything is colorless costing, it's a little irrelevant. The Goblin Replica. Cool card. It costs 3 for the 2/2. And he has an ability of tapping 3 plus a mountain, and I can sacrifice him to destroy a target artifact. not really going to use his ability too much, but if somebody does have an artifact that hurts me for some reason, I do have ways in this deck to make that red mana to use that. Alright, so this is a great card. This is the Gemini Engine. When this artifact, so he's a cost 6 for a 3/4, but whenever you attack with this card, it makes a copy of itself in a token form that's also going to attack. So, just by attacking with this, I end up with another attacking creature, and that triggers your Bruiser's capability, adding another counter onto your Bruiser. Our Granite Shard. So our Granite Shard is pay 3 to bring it out, then we pay 3 more to tap it, and we can deal 1 damage to player and or creature. Just a nice little tap-a-tap to help spend mana, because in this deck, once you get going, you're going to have mana to spend. This is a Mannequin, artifact creature. It's an old school one. I believe I got this one back in Tempest. Pay 2, bring Mannequin onto the field for 1/1, and then you can tap it and use it like a mana rock. Alright. Leaden Myrrh. So this is, again, just like the Mannequin. It's pay 2, it's a 1/1 creature, and I can tap this one for a swamp. Arcbound Hybrid. I always like the artwork, like a little mechanical dog kind of deal. And it's pay 4 for a 2/2 with haste, but it has the modular, so if it dies, I can put those power counters onto something else. Urza's Mind. This is one of 3 of the Urza lands that I have in this deck. So there will also be the Urza's Tower and the Urza's Power Plant. Once you have 3 of these on the field in that set, these tap for creating 3 colorless mana. So basically, if you can get 3 of these, all 3 in your opening hand, you can play everything in this deck. A dual land. Talons of Pain. Now, Talons of Pain is awesome. Whenever a source other than Talons of Pain itself deals damage to an opponent, you put a counter on this card. At any time, you're then able to tap this card, and however many counters are on here is how much life you take away from your opponent. So this is great to follow up after you've done like a massive creature hit, because each of those creature hits is going to put a counter on here. And then you can basically make all your attacks double. And let's see here, it's more specialized lands. Of course, Signets, because mana rocks are awesome. I put a lot of specialty lands in here for no other reason than I just felt like using them, and I thought normally those are cards that you have trouble with because a lot of them produce colorless mana, and so they don't help you in a regular deck very much. But in a deck like this, where colorless mana is mana. A Golden Myrrh, same as the Leaden Myrrh, only instead of producing swamplands, it produces plains mana. Ooh, a Skeleton Shard. So the Skeleton Shard comes out, pay 3 for the artifact, then you can pay 3 and tap it to bring any artifact creature card from your graveyard back to your hand. So you can start cycling some of those modulars and really start ramping up power. The Skyblood Egg, or Shadow Blood Egg, another one of those. Talked about that earlier. There's the Urza's Tower that we talked about, as is the Urza's Power Plant. Great cards. Urza's Mine. Alternate artwork for Urza's Power Plant. There it is, the Sky Cloud Egg. Works just the same way pretty much as the Shadow Blood Egg. Pay 1, then pay 2, tap and sacrifice, draw a card. Of course, a Heart of Ramos, another Mana Stone, plus the more artifacts we play, the more powerful some of our cards get. Okay, another Lake Golden Mare. And what do we have left? Just an Arcbound Bruiser. So, yeah. This is a pretty straightforward get them on the field and beat them up deck. Nothing fancy. This is a good deck to play against somebody who likes to play aggro, because you can play aggro with aggro. While there's not a whole lot in terms of direct damage, this is, when I was putting this together, I wanted just a fun way to help someone get into the game, and with the fact that it's all colorless mana, they wouldn't have to worry about having the right mana for the right thing. It would all work no matter what. And also, it was a fun way for them to get a really big creature on the field without really having to put too much thought behind it. Everything in this deck kind of feeds into each other, so it's a good way to help teach somebody who's learning the game how combos work. And also, it's really fun to play if you're playing with a casual group. So, this was the last deck I built more than 10 years ago. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you maybe thought it was interesting. And if you like this kind of content and would like to see the content we make going forward, please hit the like and subscribe button down there. A little bell will tell you whenever we make a new video. And this is the last of my old decks that we're going to talk about. So from here, the content's going to be on information on how they play when we try them against newer decks brought up to people, and any updates and changes we decide to make. So, till next time, people, have fun, be good people, have fun while being good people, and remember, every day is a good day to make gains.